Well, welcome back to the Lost News channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at the tropics and the Atlantic, which surprisingly, or not surprisingly, because it's 2020 and the most active hurricane season on record at this point. But we have a very active November ahead of us, with not only now Ada moving across in the Gulf of Mexico, but two new storms could be forming in the next couple of days or so. So that could be, I believe, it's Theta, something like that. And I think it's like Iota. But we could be seeing two more storms, and we may even get three storms at the same times right now. We may have Ada, the storms over here, and a tropical depression or storm down here. So maybe three storms at the same time in November. So we are looking at a very active November ahead of us. Now, Ada here has continued to weaken now down to 50 mile per hour. Current forecast cone doesn't bring too is actually pretty good news. They're no longer expecting a second landfall in Florida. I mean, the previous cone was showing it go like this, like the cone just before that. We've now shifted to it not even making a tropical storm landfall and just kind of dissipating over the Gulf. At this point, it seems like it may do a little bit of something different. I'm going to be showing you guys because it may actually get pulled closer to its cube as an expected. I'm going to be showing you guys right after that. Otherwise, the flash flooding potential remains fairly high, and you can see that crazy track that the storm took. I mean, starting out in the Eastern Caribbean, making landfall, resurviving, reforming, making landfall in Florida, and now it could actually do something similar to this. So we'll have to check that out. Maybe something like this, but it could still be alive for at least another week or so. If we look first here at the storm really quickly on visible or on our satellite, you can see it is blowing up finally some new convection around the center after recon found it has significantly weakened down to 50 mile per hour. Obviously, after passing through here, it did pass here and is now continuing on its jog southward. And it is, again, going a little bit more to the south than anticipated, really moving close to Cuba now. And I wouldn't be as surprised if they do issue some tropical storm warnings there. But you can see that center finally now being covered with convection. I mean, remember we had like that big weird eye thing. Everybody thought it was an eye. Obviously, it was just an exposed center at this point. But we're getting some very tall cloud tops starting to blow up, maybe near negative 70, negative 80 degrees cloud tops here, starting to blow up. So that is a sign that this thing is getting a little bit more of, a little bit more things into him. You can see that rotation really here. So it is getting its act together. If you look on the water vapor imagery, you're able to see the dryer here in the dark, the dark grays and black here. This is drier right here, which is affecting the storm. As you can see, last night when the storm was around here, we had dryer getting pulled in. Basically, when the storm was around here, the dryer was getting pulled in all the way into the center and coming in by the eastern side. Now, it has cut off, as you can see. It has that nice little bubble of moisture now. But the dryer is continuing to try to wrap around through here. But at the moment, it looks like it's not going to be affecting it. Now, the thing is, look at the storm right here. You can see that area of rotation remaining present. And yesterday, this area of rotation was right here. And this is what led the storm in part to go down here. Because really, when it came here, it really had nothing. It had a high pressure this way and a high pressure that way, which canceled everything out. It had really barely no steering current. So now what we have here is this little area of spin up, a little area of rotation, coming partly from the upper level low we had. And so what's happening here is they're kind of rotating, kind of like the Fujiwara effect. This is rotating around Ada, and Ada is rotating around here. Now, what we were expecting this is to die out and then really come down here and really start to go north, but this is continuing to pull it down, and I wouldn't be surprised if it does get pulled down quite significantly before this high pressure as well as the jet stream that comes in really picks it up farther. But for now, it does look like it's going to be continuing to rotate towards Cuba. Maybe not go all the way down like this. I mean, I don't expect that to happen, but we'll have to monitor it closely. Look at the tracks here. Again, they have really split out. We have two still showing a Florida landfall, two going straight north is what the National Hurricane Center is showing, 4 or 5 going down near Mexico, and then again 4 or 5 going near, Alabama, Mississippi. But now most models really just kind of stall it out here and then kind of dissipating out, which is honestly good news. Now, as we focus on what could become our next tropical cyclones here, this is again a large satellite image of the Atlantic. You have Eta here. You can see here still impacting parts of Florida, but you've got this storm here. This is now being designated Invest 97L. It has a 80% chance of forming. We can see that rotation to it right here. Now, it hasn't been dubbed subtropical or tropical quite yet because it remains stuck to this frontal front here. But you can see it really starting to split up now. I mean, yesterday that area of rotation was in that front, and now we're seeing this starting to really split up from it. So when this cuts out this convection here, it will have a chance to become its own tropical cyclone. But you can see Eta basically feeding it. I mean, you can see Eta wrapping around, and basically, I mean, in a way, Eta is forming this new storm, if you think about it, connecting it. This is kind of its outflow now at this point, and this is its inflow. So very interesting. And then we also have here something that could come out of the main development region and actually form in the Caribbean by day 2 or 3. So we'll have to check that closely. If you take a close-up look of Invest 97L, you can see here again we have a very pronounced rotation, quite a bit of wind shear, or quite a bit of convection, very pronounced rotation with the center being right here. Let's pause this, slow it down a little bit here, and pause it right here. So this is what we're looking at right now. The center is probably around right here. We have some rotation to it, and a fairly organized system. Look at the model guidance. They're also fairly in accordance, going this way and then shooting up north. So at the moment, at least, no impact zones expected. So this could be just a subtropical storm, nothing too major. Intensity guidance does bring it up, maybe up to 60 miles per hour at most, but once again, isn't really expected to be too strong. It already has tropical storm force winds, so we just need to wait to acquire those full tropical characteristics. Alrighty, so now we're going to be looking a little bit here at the GFS model, just for some guidance on what could happen. So if we look at this model run here from the GFS, we can notice again Eta here and Invest 97L. We're once again both connected. Now, again, in the next couple of days, obviously Eta again does dissipate, but then we do get Invest 97L that does peak with 997 millibars as Eta is dissipating, as you can see here. So that dissipates, and then we get here this kind of remnants of this connection between the two storms, kind of rendering in the Caribbean. And this does, as the storm here, as the storm goes towards potentially Europe here, this does start to spin up a storm in the Caribbean as well. And as you look here, Invest 97L dissipates, and we actually get somewhat of a storm try to form north of the Caribbean. So we do get this, maybe a tropical depression. And then something tries to spin up in the Caribbean. It's not as strong as the last model, but we also get some kind of a spin up. But then that cold front here, or this frontal front kind of thing, kind of dissipates this somewhat. And then it moves into the Gulf and tries to make somewhat of a run for Florida. But again, this model really doesn't show much forming, maybe 2 weak depressions, and maybe this becoming a tropical storm. So the GFS is not on board with all of this, as you can see here. It is just not really on board with any of this really developing any farther, it looks like. On the other hand, the CMC has been fairly consistent this year. It has been a fairly good model. Once again, you got Invest 97L, Eta here, once again connected here. So we've got this. It peaks it at around 993 millibars. Eta dissipates in the middle of the Gulf as expected. And then Invest 97L does make a run for I just forgot the name, for Portugal, but it does dissipate before that. Once again, look, we have this area here, this area of disorganized showers and thunderstorms, and it once again does spin up into a 997 millibar tropical storm, makes landfall in Nicaragua, unfortunately. And so we do get that spin up here and moves in the Gulf afterwards, and then potentially another storm forms in the northern Atlantic here once again. So some consistent models have really backed up on this storm right here. It was at one point expected to become a major hurricane, but the models have really backed up because, as you know, we're not in November, and we're not going to be seeing conditions that favorable. The icon does show a 988 peak for Invest 97L, and then it really again it only shows a 1005 millibar storm um, for Invest 90, well, soon to be Invest 98L. Naptrim hasn't rendered out yet, so we're gonna have to see how this does go and play out over the time here. But as you can see by the way here, the La Nina is rising a little bit. But conditions wise for the Northern Atlantic, I mean, the areas where we do have favorable conditions or favorable STT sea surface do remain pretty much only in the Caribbean at this point, where we get 29, 28 degrees Celsius. But where we're getting 97L, it has 22 to 23. So if it is going to be something maybe subtropical, and then right now, Ada is in 28, 27, and as it moves on, it's going to be going to 26, 24. What's going to struggle even more. But thanks for watching tonight's update. I'll have more if any of those storms do end up forming. And we'll have the update in about 30 minutes on what's going to be happening with those storms here. So stay tuned for that, guys. And we might have a live stream at some point if needed here. I'm looking to see if this has updated. Doesn't look like it. So 70, 80% and a 50%.